Kirsten and Mark talking about shows and whatever comes to mind. He's in space, she's on her couch, and they talk all the time.
Hey, stop it. That was good. Did you see that? How was your week? I think it's been a week, right?
Yeah. Week's been pretty good, I think. Yeah. This week was pretty good. I cooked some good food. Um, I think that I was like productive enough, you know? And yeah, I think that's about it for me. How was your week?
Not bad.
Yeah.
We are blessed and highly favored. I have been like, I was gonna say waiting to cook, but it's like I had all the ingredients and I just kept eating and or cooking other things. You know, does that ever happen? You're like, I bought all the ingredients. I'm ready for taco night, but then you have like lasagna night, soup, snack, breakfast for dinner, and you yet to eat the thing that you have acquired all the ingredients for. That's like in a video game. All right, you've collected all you need for your mission, and you're like, well, I'm gonna go on this other one. So that was me with like mild Italian sausage meatballs, not like homemade, but you know, they sell them in the store and you fix them however you want. I like skillet fried mine and then like par cooked, took them out and then cooked some spinach and mushrooms, took those out, and then put with the mushroom and spinach juice with the garlic and all like the flavoring and leftover in the same skillet that I cooked the meatballs in. So it's got a little bit of that flavor in there. And then I use a can of like just store-bought like white sauce, like Alfredo garlic sauce type of situation. And then season again to add your own flavors. And then I put back in the meatballs. And then I also cook some pasta. So all those things are cooling and will be ready to indulge in when I'm done. Yes. So I'm doing it again. And this time I'm going to be like, support your local Black person. Hashtag support your local Black person. And like post them, I think, on one of my, maybe like my Insta page on like a story and be like, donations accepted, suggested amount for like categories of things, because some things are bigger and nicer than others. But I'm about to get rid of some stuff. It's an opportunity for transition.
Yeah. I feel like that always feels really good when you get to go through your stuff.
True. I mean, I wish I was someone who got rid of more stuff in those processes, but I'm like, I remember when I got you, I still wear you. I mean, to wear something a couple times a year is still pretty good. And I have a lot of things. I cherish them all, but I am still each time, this time and the last time, and every time, I do like to cycle some things out. I mean, I've got stuff from middle school that just happens to still fit. Like sweatshirts and stuff. So I'll probably keep that kind of stuff. But I am kind of excited to purge some things and let them live a new life with someone else. And this is highly inspired by this podcast I was listening to the other day. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's about science and often about space. I low key love science, high key love space. I always kick myself because I had an opportunity to go to space camp and I didn't take it.
I went to space camp as a little kid. I did like an overnight. I stayed for like a night. I think I was maybe 9 or 10, but I can't remember. I remember it was very cool. Yeah, it was exciting. And then I remember
Alien.
Yeah, when I was at space camp, I did not believe in aliens at the time. No. But it was just a very cool place to be. Even just for the night that I was there, it was pretty awesome. Enjoyed my time there. So I mean, for the Area 51 people, I'm sure they're like, yeah, they're jokers.
They're like, she's funny.
Yeah.
They want me for their next holiday party.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. What a thought. Who do they get for like holiday parties? Do they have holiday parties?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Kirsten, did I tell you about how I did a holiday party? I think it was maybe the most recent holidays back 2019. I bombed so hard. Well, I don't know if that's really true. I bombed, but I mean, it's kind of one of those things, you know, when you do a gig, you kind of get paid either way. So you don't get paid for how funny you are. So in hindsight, it doesn't really matter. And
Yeah.
I say that I bombed, but in truth, I feel like, all funny comedians on the show, I don't think anyone like killed for the full duration. So I'm not trying to speak ill of the opportunity or the people involved or anything like that. But it was like this, it was a Dave and Buster's. It wasn't like a terrible gig or anything like that where it was so bad, but you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you go and do a show and you do well and you don't really think about it. It's like, I don't know, the show went well. But it's only when like a gig goes poorly where you like pick apart all the reasons why maybe it didn't go well.
Yeah,
And
you put stuff up, you're like, that's exactly where it started going wrong.
yeah. And it was just kind of one of those things where I think had I known, I guess at the end of the day, if I was just like a slightly funnier person, wouldn't have been a problem. But I feel like, you know, I wanted to take care of business. But I think it was a couple things that I was not able to like overcome. So it was one of those things where they were in this back room, private party room where they had just eaten and they were all seated. But it was like all the fluorescent lights were on, you know, which is fine. But I mean, like for like a stand-up thing, it can kind of make it tough just because, you know, if you can see all these other people, you may or may not laugh. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it just doesn't really feel like a show. So I feel like with all the fluorescent lights being on, they're eating food. I think it's just one of those things where, you know, they don't have to really be invested. Plus, it's like it was a holiday party where we were just one thing in a full day of like fun holiday things going on. So it's like they had just eaten. After we were done, they're probably going to go bowling or something like that. So it's not like we are the entertainment. We are a piece of entertainment, you know? So fluorescent lights are on. Also, they're from like, it's a holiday party for like a company where they're coming from different states. So it's not like they all know the same people. So maybe my guess is that they're little tables, they knew each other, but it's not like some group experience. Anyway, they also wanted like clean comedy. And when they said clean, they included, I don't really like swear that much as a comedian.
No,
but
you don't.
sometimes when they say clean, they also mean like no race or politics, which is also interesting because it's not like talking about race is in any way dirty. It's not like talking about who you are is in any way dirty, but I guess
they don't want any hot topics.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, fine. And some people still broke the rule because they're just like, I got to do something to get this crowd. Anyway, it's just like, it's just one of those things. It's like, it's weird when you're in front of a bunch of people and you do something that actually normally works. Like you're doing a joke that normally works okay. And so it's like you do something and you expect to hear laughter and you don't hear it. And you're like, what? What?
The laugh right there.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just, it wasn't like anything unusual. It's just kind of like a normal bomb. You know what I'm saying? Like a normal gig where it's just like, oh, I didn't do very well. But anyway, you mentioned holiday party and it took me back to that moment.
It left a scar on your memory.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I've learned that it's just like, I haven't done as many like private stand-up gigs. I've done a decent number of like private improv gigs. So it's like, I know how to do those, and I also know like what to expect. Whereas stand up is like a little different, where it's like you almost have to, I don't know, it's just a different breed than like doing a show where someone like bought a ticket to see some stand up. It's different when you're like showing up at a party where they didn't even necessarily know they were going to be entertained and still like learning how to grab an audience, you know? So it's a different skill. So
It is, and there's such different levels of investment for your audiences depending on the variety of the situation you find yourself in. Because there are certain feels of certain situations where you're like, oh man, this is gonna be tough. Let's get to the end. Hello. I also stole a bite of my meatball.
how's it?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yes. Yummy on my tummy. Meatball. Ooh, I like this.
I like the glasses.
Yeah, these are the like blue light glasses. So no prescription, but I love a good frame. Yes.
I like them. They're really good.
Face wardrobe change. I am uploading the other video in the background of the last one. Something I noticed when I was editing, and I do this sometimes, I might have even talked about it with you before, whether on our channel or just in life, but I don't on purpose at all, but I know it's something I do. I kind of get phrases or sayings wrong sometimes. Like I'll mix two up and I won't be able to quite say what I'm like. I'll say the first part, then I'll mix it up. I'm like, you kill two birds with one, don't fly too close to the sun. And it's like, whoa, wait, those, something doesn't match up. But they often end up being like, you know what I mean, and kind of close enough. But when I was editing, I was saying something to like certain relationships, and I guess we'll get into it more when we actually get into finishing talking about the episode that we're currently on. Like certain stati in families, with husband-wife stati, or I guess let's speak more inclusionary, more inclusive. Partners of a household, often someone brings home the bacon, so is the breadwinner. And I think that's how it is, but I said something to the effect of, they bring home the bacon and they bring home the bread and make the bacon. I was like, are they the bread maker or it's the breadwinner and the bacon maker? So it may not have been super noticeable because it sounded close enough to what I guess was meaning to say. But when I was editing, I was like, that's not right.
Kirsten and Mark talking about shows and whatever comes to mind. He's in space, she's on her couch, and they talk all the time. Sometimes Kirsten has glasses, they're not prescription, but they're for blue light. Mark has real glasses, but he won't wear them right now because he's got on contact lenses, but this is a good reminder for himself to update his prescription. Also, getting blue light glasses would probably be best for his long-term vision health. Something like that.
Oh, that's so good! Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Jingle maker, yes! Mark Kendall, everyone. Could you hear that?
Yeah.
I've been having so much fun with those. I'm obsessed this week. I am teaching kids tomorrow. They better get ready. They don't know what's happening.
That's fun. That's fun. Kirsten, I gotta ask, what would your jingle be?
Um, Kirsten, Mark, those are two names. They're not the same, but the Kirsten and Mark.
It's great. It's great. That's a great exploration of our names.
Right? I mean, front-facing information,
Mhm.
manageable expectations.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I was like, I've got to ask Mark. I'm sure it's gonna be great, whatever he says, because you that jingle maker. I feel like you secretly write for a huge celebrity, and like nobody in your life knows that. Oh my gosh. Are you ready to talk about the conclusion of season 2, episode 2 of The Umbrella Academy, Mark?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out how to go up, but still sound excited. Yes? Yeah.
All right, so we're ready. We're finishing up talking about season 2, episode 2, the conclusion, because we had so much to say on the beginning of episode 2. So we're getting back into it, finishing up episode 2. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we left off with like the next scene was gonna be well, no, sorry. 18 thoughts coming out of my brain at once. Luther had already run into Vanya at the farmhouse with Lady Wife McGee. She pulled a gun, was like, why you here? Get away from my son and my new lady memory lost friend. He was like, I got your husband's wallet. Good day. Strong boy out. And then I think we touched in with Diego. Next thing happening was Allison back in the jail cell where her husband Raymond is, because he was set up and is in holding right now, not being released. She's talking to him outside the bars. They acknowledge that they know it was a racist setup, and like she fell for it or whatever, and he is not, and that's why he's been arrested without due cause. But those racist times, you know what they is. We all do. Raymond, her husband, asks her about what we as a viewer have seen, which is we saw her twice attempt to or start to use her rumor power on the cops who arrested him in the timeline the night before. But she stopped herself and just like let the arrest happen. And it made you wonder, does Raymond know? Because he happened to just cut her off each time, time-wise, as far as dialogue goes. So in this scene, he's like, so why did you say I heard a rumor? You said it twice. Like, what's up with that? So that is such a revealing moment, Mark, because you, as the viewer, are like, nope, he doesn't know. She has not let it be known to him or maybe others that she has a power. And you go, has she even used it, if that's the case, right?
That's a great point, Kirsten.
Yes! Oh my God, that's such like a money making point. Yes. And it's like she skirts the issue. She doesn't answer. She's like, oh, I just, right? And that kind of plays it off and just totally skirts the situation and leaves. On her way out, she sees the like one of Klaus's followers from the cult or whatever who's still in the white only part of the cell, and he's got the hello, what is it, hello goodbye?
Yeah.
on his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And she recognizes that from like being a Klaus thing. And she's like, where did you get that from? He's like, everyone who follows the prophet has them. So she starts to put together, and you as the viewer know, like, she's putting together this dot that Klaus is here somewhere. They're about to meet. And Klaus and Raymond have already met prior to Allison entering the jail cell scene. Is that right?
Correct.
So exciting things about to happen there, because all of the siblings have yet to convene. They're still in that phase of heroes coming together to do the thing. They're still coming together. Once again, if you watch season 1, you'll know that like that this is a show we've seen before. Not in a bad way, but like the relationship is cyclical between the siblings, it seems, in correlation to season 1 and season 2. Would you say the same?
I would say so.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ooh, I think the next is we see, I guess that night in this timeline, we see Klaus kind of walking through a yard at night, breaking into a house. Turns out to be his old prophet house. It's like a picture of him as the prophet on the wall. And it's like a big mansion style house.
Yeah.
So as a prophet, he was rolling in that cash dough.
Yeah.
And that's like a mini scene, and then we just like move on, I think. We cut back to Lady Wife McGee and Vanya talking talking at like the dinner table, presumably the same night. And there's like this very sensual, and it's not like overtly sensual. I don't mean to make it sound extra scandalous or anything, but it's definitely a milestone moment visually and in the relationship of Lady Wife McGee and Vanya, because they're talking at the dinner table, and then she like goes, Lady Wife McGee asks Vanya for her hands and like starts to read them. Is that the right phrase?
Yeah. I would say like, I mean, what I took away from that moment is like, it's almost kind of like, well, I mean, it's also kind of just like a caress, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and done in such a way where, I mean, I wasn't necessarily positive, but I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be something more than platonic, more likely than not, you know?
Agreed. Yeah. Cause though there may have been a hint or two, I think that's one of the first times you get a very clear, in no uncertain terms, like this is going to be more than a platonic thing. Yeah. And then one of them, I don't remember which one, like shakes out of that moment, right? You shake out of those like almost moments, I like to call them, because you can feel them and you're like, no, for whatever reason, you shake out of the moment with whoever is in that moment with you. And I think that night Vanya has like a dream flashback of playing her violin. And I think it scares her. She kind of wakes up in the middle of the night. Lady Wife McGee happens to hear the wrestling of her, and Vanya leaves the house, takes the family car. She's real comfortable with them because she took that family car. She doesn't have a license. Like, she is really spitting into the wind in her situation she has found herself in. Because I'm like, girl, what you gonna do if you get pulled over? But I guess I was gonna comment on, you know, the difference of races and those experiences, but again, it's just a show. So, but she totally just like up and takes the car.
Yeah, I was almost kind of wondering, like, because there are a couple moments where you're just like, how did they get by without like IDs and things like that? And part of me just wondered in Texas in the 60s, if you were, most of them are kind of like white presenting anyway. So like if you were in the 60s at that time, could you just kind of like get by without that stuff as long as you weren't calling too much attention to yourself? Could you just kind of be like, yeah, it just drives, it's fine, no seatbelts? I mean, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have, I don't know. That's something that I kind of wondered, just in terms of how they got by. Some of the other characters where it's like they clearly just kind of showed up in these situations, whether it's like, showing up to Jack Ruby being like, you don't know who I am, but I can be your muscle. Or this person being like, oh, I know you hit me with a car, I don't know anything, but I'll stay with your kid. So I wonder if, I mean, it's also a show, but I also wonder if I also kind of wonder, I don't know what it was like in the 60s in Texas, but I just kind of wonder if that was part of it, maybe.
I think those are excellent thoughts, and I have had similar ones in like watching this show and others, because particularly I think in a show like this, and I think you might be on the same accord, where we enjoy not just the show as a whole, but like kudos to the writers. There is smart writing happening, not only because this is a very layered show with very layered characters and very layered plots and things like that, but I also think the writers are intelligent in how they approach the scenes, the time jumping, the trajectory of the storyline and things like that. So when those things all get marks of praise, I go like, who was in charge of the nuance of the details? Because you're fired. Right? Because all the other things are there. How great would it have been to have things like life logistics in this time? Because they kind of try, I think they probably thought they maybe did. Like Luther is a big, strong man. Anyone maybe would be like, of course you can protect me. I've never seen anyone bigger, but like, I don't know. And then maybe with Allison, she says she showed up. We see her run into that beauty salon away from like racist, I was gonna say white gentleman, but racist white gentleman is just not a compilation of words that feels right together, but like racist young men in the scene of this episode. She runs into, for safety, this beauty salon, and then starts like volunteering, or like they let her stay there, or an apartment, right? But everyone else is just like unexplained. Like, give me some reasons. I guess Diego got put in the psych ward, but all that to say, I feel exactly what you're saying, Mark.
Yeah, because it's like, when you hear stories from people that are just from a different time, they're just like, I just picked up and moved, started a different life. Or it's just like, so-and-so had like a secret family. I'm just like, maybe that was just more of a thing before computers.
Before like, the internet and everything was so trackable and instant.
Yeah. I mean, even think about, like, without spoiling anything, like even thinking about like Mad Men and like certain character stories in Mad Men, right? You're just like, oh, I guess that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
man. The times, which is never a good reason, but we'll go with that for now. Let's see. So Rodney takes off, end of that scene. Lady Wife McGee sees her leave, so no, something's up, but like that scene ends. I think we go to 5 in Diego. They have this timeline dad's business address that they found in the last scene we saw them in the phone book. So they're headed to his business address. They're like going targeted, laser in, let's find dad. Right? He's probably got the answers they know, or at least they think they know. They've seen him in the Franklin footage. They talk about, as they're breaking in at night, presumably the same night of Vanya's dream and her running off, as they're breaking into this timeline dad's business address.
Yeah.
I think that it's poignant and interesting that Diego and Five are having a conversation about how long it's been since Five in particular has seen dad. Because for Diego, he's only lost the amount of time he's been in this timeline and in the psych ward, because in the original timeline, before the dad died,
right,
everyone but Five was in original timeline dad's life. But because Five time hopped, we find that it's been, I think, 47 years or something since Five, because of his time jumping and now actual through the time group jump. So it's been a really long time, and it's like, oh my gosh, so good luck, buddy. It's gonna be weird for you. But I think you've touched on that in one of our previous episodes. So I when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that relationship between Five and the Scrooge McDuck billionaire dad is almost as layered. Like, each of those super sibs have such a layered relationship with that dad in a way that it's like, oh man, what are we about to find out now?
Mm-hmm.
So they break in. Diego basically sees a figure after some time in the dark, because there's nobody there. It's weird. There are a bunch of mannequins dressed up, but there are no, like, there are some file cabinets, but it definitely looks staged in a way. And so again, that like Scrooge McDuck dad in either timeline is such a mysterious character. You're like, is this how it always looks, or is it like this because he knew they were coming? Like, what's happening?
That's what I thought. I was just like, there's no way that there's anything there that they could get to that he wouldn't be completely fine with someone saying. It's just like, yeah, that's what I was thinking watching it. So whenever they would find something, I'm just like, their dad is just too smart to leave anything significant like on his desk, because like a normal person doesn't do that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
I don't know if it does these two characters in particular a disservice that they believe that they could so easily locate and approach said mysterious dad character in any timeline, right? Like, they know him. What made them think that they were going to be like, aha, we found what we needed, right? It was almost too easy that they found the address in the first place in the phone book.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like there's an eagerness to just prove to themselves that they can, like, keep up with their dad. And I feel like in that, they just make odd decisions. Because in actuality, I think as a team, they probably could keep up with their dad, honestly, you know? But I think that he just maintains such a hold over them. I think it really, like, fogs up their decision-making a lot of the time. Or at least I felt it did in this episode.
I even feel like, because we've talked about how Diego has that hero complex, and so that's a lot of him already. And so I almost feel like Diego was, because of the connection these two siblings have with each other, and that purposeful content of seeing them have that conversation about Five between them, so vulnerability between those two super sibs, and about the dad figure. It was like Diego was, his essence was starting to encompass or speak for or influence them both. And I was like, Five, what are you doing? You're smarter than this. So is Diego. But again, that want to, whatever, insert want here, want of love from father, want of, we got him, want of, we are capable, want of, he'll love us in any timeline. That power it'll have you drunk like love. Man. So, and I think, man, they split up almost immediately after breaking into this address, and I'm like, why do you think that's a good idea? I see a reason of, like, we can cover double ground this way if we split up. but your chances of getting forked up also double. Because you ain't got nobody to watch your back. And again, their dad is so tricky. What made them think that was a good idea? Because it turns out to not be.
Yeah.
There is a beautiful, I grew up playing in classical orchestra, so whenever the entire soundtrack of all Umbrella Academy episodes is like pretty fire. It's a lot of classical music, a lot of orchestral sounds and snips. And there is one, while they're rooting through this umbrella company in this timeline, like address building, there's this high tremolo that is used for such horror and beauty. Do you know what a tremolo is?
I don't.
It's like if you were to see it, the string would be going up and down, just like on one note, and it sounds kind of like, but a little cleaner, right? Depending on the pace and pressure of your bowstrings on the instrument strings. It is such a beautiful, like, and it can be powerful because it's not like a whole orchestra string section. It's like a single string tremolo, and I'm like, yes, you better inject horror and like suspense. And we see Five find a monkey who turns out to be young Pogo, who in the regular timeline further down in history, it is a grown monkey who wears a suit, is intellectual, teaches the children, trains them, speaks languages, but is killed by Vanya in season 1. If, again, don't know how you can tune in the middle, but spoiler alert. Vanya kills Pogo in season 1. So he's gone to the viewer who is a carryover from season 1. But we see a young Pogo and who doesn't seem to talk or be an intellectual yet. But Five kind of recognizes that, oh my gosh, this I think is Pogo, and kind of gets close. But then baby Pogo like fucks him up. Not a big drawn out fight, but like claws at him and like attacks him and then escapes away. All the while, again, this is one big beautiful scene. We find Diego, who has followed that mystery figure that has on like a hat and a coat silhouette similar to this timeline dad.
Yeah.
So he's thinking, I found dad, I'm gonna get him. And they end up, Diego follows it into this like factory attached space. It's like empty, big, warehousey space. We see a figure, which I think it's fine to say, if you recognize, it's a very quick shot in this scene, a figure of a female drop onto like the rafters in that warehouse space. It's Lila. You come to find that in like, I think the last second of the scene or something. And then Diego and indeed this timeline dad have this amazing fight scene that is like beautifully shot with beautiful like I can't think of the word. It's beautifully scored as well. And there are these, it's not like, I say like well lit and beautifully shot. It's like if there's just like 2 lights and they look like just moonlight coming through the windows of this place. It's beautiful, Mark. I was like, I love so much about this scene, and the shout out to the choreographers and the fight choreo. I was like, yes. Did you love it?
Oh, it was very fun. Well, there's a lot going on because it's just like you're watching Diego go up against his dad, you know? And I think what I was realizing was like, oh yeah, that's right. He's not a sick in bed guy anymore. He's considerably younger. Also still really old. I mean, not really old, but kind of old. You're kind of like, how old is this guy? You know, like, which is another thing that I thought.
He kind of looks the same as in season 1. So you're like, are you Dorian Gray? Do you not age? Where is the picture of you on the wall that ages for you?
Yeah.
Let's see. So a beautiful fight scene, and unfortunately for Diego, he also gets forked up by his daddy, which like hurts his body and his mind, I am sure, because of his whole like relationship with that Scrooge McDuck millionaire dad. Also, one of the songs playing in the background is I'm a Man by the Spencer Davis Group. If you don't know that group, look them up. You probably recognize the song in the background as it played, but like so many of us, had to Shazam it. Shazam, sponsor us! Baby channel, looking for grown-up sponsorship. Yeah, yeah. That one, the melody was all over the place, but whatever. So look up Spencer Davis Group. Look it up on YouTube, whatever. It's a great song. And anyways, look it up. I loved it. It's playing in the background underneath this fight scene. And again, his dad forks him up, and he I don't know about our viewers and the people, and I don't think you're a weaponry person, Mark, unless again you are this like enigma that nobody truly knows. So maybe you're like a spy with all kinds of weapon knowledge.
I also wanted to say I'm a consultant for this weapons thing. I can't talk about. I'm just playing. No, I really don't know anything about weapons.
Well, you having seen the episode, at the end of the scene when this timeline dad forks up Diego at the end of this beautiful fight scene, it's with what one might call a push dagger, which is, it can often, if you see in movies, like if you ever see ladies or card players with like a knife, very small dagger-like knife up their sleeve, where it's often used in like close combat, so that you can be like, you can grab a assailant or whoever, grab with one hand, and then the dagger is so small. Anyways, often some people call it a push dagger. It was small and deadly, and this timeline dad forked up Diego with that little push dagger. I was like, no, Diego. And then he twisted it, and I was like, no.
Yeah. I like when I saw that happen, I was like, come on, Diego. And then I was just like, he can't fight his dad. That's just it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, technically the dad taught him everything he knows in any timeline.
Yeah.
Man. So yeah, that, I think that's the end of that episode. So that like brings to a close season 2, episode 2. Do you think?
I think so.
Man, that episode had so much. I cannot wait to get into the next one. They're all so good. I love it. Hashtag sponsor us, Netflix. We need your sponsorship. Oh, I'm not in the middle of the frame. That was bad. We need your sponsorship. That's better. Yes. Yes. Treat yourself. Hashtag treat yourself. Oh, man. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you for the next episode of Did You See That? Did you see it? Did you see that?